Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ike's Political Minutes. Today we will be simulating the 2024 presidential election between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Now, this is the mix that most people just frankly would not like to see. They would like to see other Democrats like, say, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, or on the Republican side, they wouldn't like Donald Trump. Maybe they would like a fresher face like Vivek Ramaswamy, or Ron DeSantis, or Glenn Youngkin. But sadly enough, both of these candidates sucked up the oxygen in their room, they won their nominations, so now you have to face the rematch. And let's see how this goes between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Let's start out with the states that Biden wins safely. He locks on the West Coast, he wins Illinois, he wins the Northeast. And I think that he will carry New Hampshire by a likely margin, just like he did before in the 2020 election. I think that he carries Maine's first congressional district safe blue and Maine at large by a likely margin. However, Trump still wins Maine's second congressional district by a likely margin. And now we move over to the states that Donald Trump would win safely. He would win the Rocky Mountain states and the Red Wall in general, with the exception of Nebraska's second congressional district. I think that would go to Joe Biden. It would go to him by a lean margin, just as not as much as before. The reason for that being that it was redistricted to favor the Republicans more, but he won it by 6 points in 2020, and that's going to be really hard for the Republicans to overcome. In any ways, Trump wins Kansas, Oklahoma. He wins the Deep South, and he would also win Indiana, West Virginia, South Carolina. I'd honestly even say Iowa goes for Trump by safe margin, and Alaska too, just because Iowa is very populist, very conservative, and it's really lost its Democratic base. I think that Trump has appeal there, and I think Trump would win Ohio by a likely margin. I think that Tim Ryan was kind of an anomaly there in the midterm elections. I think that overall Donald Trump would fare really well in Ohio and go back to the kind of JD Vance roots, to the populist conservative roots. And I think that Texas, I'm actually going to put that in the lean column for Donald Trump. I know it was likely for him in 2020, but honestly, I think that Donald Trump has exhausted the Hispanic turnout that he's been able to get in Texas. Hispanics did not move substantially to the right in 2022 compared to in 2020. And with the Democrats continuing to make gains in the suburbs in Texas, especially in Austin and Houston, I think that Texas will be more in play. Now, I'm not saying they'll be able to win it. I think that Ted Cruz will beat Colin Allred. I think Donald Trump will beat Joe Biden in Texas. But Texas is becoming a more and more competitive state by the day. I do, however, think that Donald Trump will win Florida by a likely margin. I think that Ron DeSantis and just generally the Florida Republican Party have terraformed this state to be a red one, a state where the Republicans are popular. Florida truly is the state where woke goes to die. Um, it is true. And Colorado, New Mexico, Virginia, all of these states would be likely for Joe Biden. They have historically all been very anti Trump, and I have no reason to see why it would be any different this time. Democrats fared very well in both Georgia and Arizona in the 2022 midterms. I mean, sure, Brian Kemp won in Georgia, but he was anti Trump, at least to the extent that he didn't bow down to not certifying the results. He was challenged from the right by David Perdue for that and vilified by Donald Trump. And Mark Kelly and Katie Hobbs both came to great victory over Blake Masters and Kari Lake in Arizona. Like, the Arizona Republican Party really is floundering in a lot of ways, so I think that Biden would lock down both Arizona and Georgia. I actually even think that he would flip North Carolina very narrowly because Sherry Beasley came very close to unseating Ted Budd, and it was much closer than the polls had anticipated. And I think that with the Democrats continuing to make inroads in North Carolina and it being demographically similar to Georgia, I think that Joe Biden has a pretty good shot to flip that state blue, just like Obama won it back in 2008. Nevada, though, Nevada has been trending rightward in recent elections, and especially if Republicans get their ballot harvesting effort in play, which Donald Trump wants to make an effort to do, and with Joe Lombardo's recent victory, I think that Nevada will be won narrowly by Donald Trump. is one of the few swing states which, like Florida, is moving to the right, even as other states like Arizona move to the left. I think that Joe Biden wins Minnesota. He wins it by a likely margin, just like he did in 2020. I think that he also wins the three Rust Belt states. I think he, once again, wins Wisconsin by a tilt margin. I actually think he wins Michigan, though, by a likely margin. I think that Gretchen Whitmer and the Democratic trifecta in Michigan, which they haven't had for over 4 decades, is going to do all they can to make voting permissive and just in general make Michigan as blue of a state as possible. And I think that with the Democrats having flipped the state house in Pennsylvania and just in general with popular senators like Bob Casey, I think that Biden will win it by a pretty comfortable margin. He'll win it by a lean margin. So there you have it. Joe Biden beats Donald Trump 312 to 226. Thank you all for watching this video. Please comment down suggestions below. Please click the like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. And I will see you all later.